Hey guys, a very warm welcome back to a brand new episode of ours where we'll be discussing about the ins and outs of how the human body works based on proper science and facts. So this series is not for those who are here looking for bullet points about how to lose weight or how to gain muscle mass in a specific area. This is for all those of you who wants to genuinely educate themselves about the human body. So without further delay guys, let's buckle up and head over to the very first episode of this brand new series known as Back to Basics. So guys, in today's topic, we are going to be understanding and addressing the simple question, that is, what happens to fat when it's lost from the body? How is fat exactly lost from the body and what is the science and mechanism behind it? So surprisingly, close to 90 to 95% of people have a very big misconception about this topic. In fact, I was guilty of this too a few years back. Used to think that fat is converted into the energy that we spend at the gym, or it is lost as sweat and other bodily fluids, which in some part is true, but in the grand scheme of things, from an educational, from a scientific standpoint, it's an absolute myth. Fat is not converted and vaporized into energy randomly, because if you're familiar with science and anything related to it, I'm sure you would have heard about this term in your school days about the law of conservation of mass. So what this law of conservation of mass teaches us essentially is that a molecule, after gone through a chemical reaction, essentially has the same number of atoms that it began with. It does not change randomly. Everything has mass, and so does human body fat. And in order to give you an insight to it, let us understand what is the chemical composition of a human body fat. As you guys can see on the screen, a human body fat is nothing but made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atoms. And the chemical structure of it is C55, H104 and O6. So what happens to fat when we burn it? How do we burn it in the first place? And can we at all burn fat? In order to make it simple, I'll first list the reaction that happens when you burn fat. So what happens is, when the fat molecule, when coupled with oxygen, gives out carbon dioxide and water, or H2O. This will be induced, as indicated by the arrow, in a very layman and simple terms, by what is essentially called biochemistry. So biochemistry is, to put it simple, nothing but the biochemical processes that happens within our body. Everything, starting from the way I'm speaking to you, with the way I'm moving my arms, way I'm flexing. So this is all a result of biochemical changes that are happening inside the body. And burning fat is no such different. So now coming to the point, when we are causing a lot of physical activities within the body, as well as when we are being in a caloric deficit, we are essentially making this reaction happen in our body, where fat is actually being metabolized and turning into carbon dioxide as well as water. So in a truest sense, to answer the very question of the title, what does fat turn into? It turns into nothing but carbon dioxide and water in the ratios of 84% carbon dioxide and 16% water. So having understood this thing, now one of the most frequently asked question would be, can I just breathe more to lose more fat, or can I just sweat more to lose more fat? So when it comes to the very first point, that is breathing more, since majority of the fat is lost as carbon dioxide, if you're sitting in one place and just breathing more in and out, that is hyperventilation, and that would do nothing but rather make you feel very, very uncomfortable after a while and maybe cause you to even pass out. That is not induced by physical activities. So like I said before, in order for this reaction to happen, that is, in order for fat to get converted into carbon dioxide and water, you need to move physically and you need to be in a caloric deficit. That will cause the biochemical reaction of the fat getting oxidized into the following carbon dioxide and water. So what happens is that when we are in a net calorie deficit, the fatty acids that are stored in the body in terms of triglycerides in our adipose tissues gets broken down with the help of enzymes into free-flowing fatty acids, which are then channeled through the bloodstream into the targeted cells which are being worked. So in those cells, the fatty acid seeps into the mitochondria and gets metabolized into carbon dioxide and water. So in order for this metabolism to take place, we cannot be eating in a surplus, which would then be using that calories which are there, which are coming to the body through surplus and not tapping into the fat stores that are already there in the body. So these are the major reasons why we need to move more and we need to be in a caloric deficit. We cannot be in a surplus and expect us to lose weight or fat. And when it comes to the second part, that can you sweat more or give out more bodily fluids to lose more fat? The simple answer is you can't. So if you have not watched the previous video where I talked about why sweat should not be directly correlated to the amount of fat that you're losing, feel free to check it out in the link above. So having addressed the entire picture, I hope you guys are left with a lot more information about what actually happens when you lose fat, and now you can actually go ahead with your fitness journey having a lot more clear concept. So if you like this sort of videos that helps you understand your body in a much more better and comprehensive way, do let us know in the comment section, as we have a lot of them planned up. So having said that guys, I really hope that this video helped you out in some sort of way or the other, and if it did, feel free to share it with your friends and give us a thumbs up. And if you happen to be new to this channel and have not subscribed to us yet, feel free to click on the red button down below. So that calls for a wrap up to the very first episode of our Back to Basics series. So having said that guys, this is your coach Shomit Shom signing off for the week. See you all again next week with another cool video.